Hi everyone, Bandanner here. Welcome to this week's WARNO Dev Blog, which is realistically a short one because it's all about the vote. This is what you've all been waiting for. I will obviously include a link down below in the description so you can go and vote for your choice of the Nemesis 2 DLC divisions. Voting will close on August 22nd at 12 noon CEST, that's 11 AM British Summertime, or indeed 6 AM EDT if you're in the US. So the dev blog doesn't actually go into too much detail, but I'll go into a little bit more detail to remind you what you're voting for. You are voting for the set of two divisions you would like to see in the Nemesis 2 DLC for WARNO. Obviously, we've been through these choices in the previous weeks, and if you want to look at them in an immense amount of detail again, then please go back and check those videos. They're all in the dev blog playlist. However, for this video, I'll just give a quick reminder of what you're voting for when it comes to each division set. So the first division set is Nemesis 2.1, the Hof Corridor. It centers on a key valley in southeastern Germany, turning into a counterattack vector for the Bundeswehr's 12th Panzer Division, which is the first division for NATO. With plentiful American support, going up against an ad hoc defensive-minded Soviet battle group, the PT Res, with East German reservists. So I'll go into a tiny bit more detail, but I don't want to spend loads of time on each of these. So the 12th Panzer Division will be getting a lot of West German infantry. They'll also get some experimental G11 rifles for their Panzer Grenadier Lehr, and they will also get a counterpart to the East German Panzerjäger called the Panzer Vernichtungs. Artillery support is coming from the Americans basically, so M110s, M270s. They will get a variety of tanks, their own tanks, which will include Leo 2A1s, 1A1A2s, 1A4s, but they will also get support from American M1A1s, as well as some Jaguars and ITWs, etc. Recon, pretty similar to the 5th Panzer Division. Anti-air, not a huge amount in there, just the basics. Helicopters, they will get none is the plan, but they might get a few, they say, depending on how the balance is. Air, they will have a good category, and the big unit there is the new electronic warfare plane. Over on the Soviet side, you got the PT Res, which are a reservist group, effectively, and they're focused on defense, so they get lots of anti-tank guns. But let's have a quick whiz through. So infantry, quite a bit of a mix. They've got this mobile obstacle detachment, like combat engineers. And they'll get special blocking detachments called Zagrayot Triad. I'm pronouncing that completely wrong, but you get the idea. And then lots of reservists within that. The first East German division to get reservists. Artillery, they get a good mix. They've got the MSTA, they've got the BM-27 Uragan, which will also come with a new incendiary loadout. They will get D-30 guns and some 120mm mortars. Tanks, they're not getting a lot. They're getting a lot of ATGM carriers. They're going to get some guns, but they will only get some T-54Bs in terms of actual tanks. Recon, pretty much a mixed bag. Nothing too big to shout home about. Anti-air, bit of a usual mix. Helicopters, nothing too exciting. Just a few Mi-24 variants. Air, however, will be very strong for this division, with a complete flying arsenal, including the new MiG-27K with two variants, a SEED and laser-guided bombs. So this one was really a mixed bag of divisions for 2.1. You've got the sort of more steadfast tank-based division, but not with the fanciest tanks on the planet, but it's sort of a meatier division, and then you've got a very defensive role division with a lot of reservists for the Soviets here. So what about a reminder of 2.2 then? So that's all about the Plateau d'Albion, which is where the Soviets are going to attempt to take out the nuclear launch site of the French. For NATO in this one, you'll be playing as the French 152E Division d'Infanterie, and for the Soviets, you'll be playing as the 76th Guards Airborne Division. So a quick reminder of what's going to be available. So first up for the French, you got a lot of reservists in this division and sort of defensive squads. They'll actually get some naval infantry to help defend rather than the usual grenadier voltigeurs. But in essence, infantry is a strong part of the division. Artillery, on the other hand, is pretty meh. They get some mortars, they get some 105mm and 155mm howitzer, but nothing too hefty. Tank tab is obviously pretty basic. They've got some AML 90s and that's about it. Oh, and the usual Milan Jeep, obviously. Recon's a pretty good tab for them, but nothing too exciting to write home about. The big exciting thing is in the next tab, that's the AA tab, and that's the Croital, which is the first time it's appearing in WARNO as an air defense unit for the French. The air tab's going to be a funny one because the nearest support was from an aerial acrobatic team. So they'll get some older jets, but with very experienced pilots. Bit of a mixed bag, the French one. Then you've got the 76 Guards Airborne Division for the Soviets. Honestly, this is basically the 35th, but a little bit different. They've mostly got the same types of infantry, lots of descent stuff, they don't have any heliborne stuff, and they'll get access to the BMD-2 and the BTR-D. They won't get any BMD-1s though. Artillery is pretty good, very similar to the 35th Guards, but they don't get the Vasilik or the Nona K. Tank is going to be an average category, as you might imagine, though they will get the BMD-3, which they are considering a light airborne tank. Recon is a pretty decent category and probably better than the 35th Guards, they say. The most interesting thing here is the Schmel-1, which is an unarmed aerial vehicle. It's WARNO's first UAV and will get a specific UAV trait. Anti-air is a pretty mediocre category here, and the Helo tab is absolutely dismal, they get hardly anything. Air tab, however, is pretty strong, and they get a lot of pretty strong air support with Su-24s, including an AT variant. So that's Nemesis 2.2. What about 2.3 second wave? So second wave is 2 reserve divisions, basically. First you got the British Support Command, and then for the Soviets you got the 34th Tank Division. In essence, both are going to have older equipment. So starting with the British Support Command, infantry is a bit of a mixed bag, but it's a lot of Terrier squads. They do get Rifles Leader and Mott rifles with Saxons. They're also going to get proper RAF rifles, they'll get Pioneers, and they're going to get the Gurkhas, which is probably the big fancy one here. They're going to get Gurkha squads, various types. Artillery is a pretty average category for these guys, but they will get a World War II weapon, the QF 25 pounder 87mm field gun, and also the BL 5.5 inch 140mm. Tank tab is pretty average, so you're going to get some Chieftains, which will be the Mark 6/2 or older variants to be determined. You're also going to get some Centurion tanks, the Mark 13 variant, and you'll get some RAF Scorpions and Scimitars in there, as well as the Rover Milan. They say Recon is very bad. I actually don't think it's too bad. Anti-air is pretty good. They're going to get a new version of the Rapier, the FSB-2 Starfire, which gets an additional 2 missiles. And they're also going to get the Tiger Cat SAMs, which are just very old-fashioned anti-air missiles. Helicopter tab, now this is really bad. Again, it's pretty much non-existent. And again, with all of these Nemesis divisions we've heard for Nemesis 2, they're going to have a pretty good air support tab, with some older F6 Lightnings thrown in there for fun. I like that the Brits are in, but I do feel like it's a very mediocre division overall. The 34th Tank Division for the Soviets, on the other hand, seems really strong. I mean, it's got older equipment, but it seems to have a lot of it. So infantry is very strong for a tank division. They've got more slots than they usually would, and they've got a really good mix of troops with Motorstrelki, Kommandatura, etc, 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 plus plenty of anti-tank stuff. Again, the artillery tab, in my opinion, is pretty good. They said it's kind of average, but they get some really good stuff. They get both the BM-21HE and the BM-21 Napalm. The Napalm variant is new, and we know how strong that can be for clearing an area. They also get 152mm howitzers, and they're also going to field the Danner, the wheeled self-propelled artillery gun. And it sounds like they're the only Soviet division that are getting that. So I actually think that's not a bad tab at all. Tank tab, okay, it's older stuff, but it's pretty good, and there's a lot of it. So loads of T-62 variants. Loads and loads and loads of T-62 variants. Plus your usual anti-tank missile platforms. They have a pretty good recon tab, including the first motorbike. Anti-air tab is a little bit more basic. They don't have any long range AA, but they get a new version of the OSA with 4 unboxed missiles and a bit less range, as well as some 57mm guns, etc. Helicopter tab, again here, is pretty basic. There's not a lot in there, some Mi-24Ds and a few Mi-8s. The air tab, however, is pretty amazing again, with some very strong stuff, a lot of Su-25s, MiG-29s, Su-24s, MiG-25s, and the older Yak-28PP in an electronic warfare role. I actually think that the 34th Tank Division is one of the best divisions here, though have you noticed that everything in Nemesis 2 has pretty weak helicopters, and pretty strong air. Now, honestly, overall, I'm a bit torn, so obviously I'd love the Brits to be in there, and I think the 34th is very strong, so, 2.3 for me personally is quite a good vote, but equally, I also think 2.2 is quite a good vote. I'm not entirely thrilled with 2.1, so I'm unsure whether I'm going to vote for 2.2 or 2.3. We will see. But let me know down in the comments which way you've decided to vote. Thank you as ever for watching. I hope you all have a great weekend. I'll see you all soon.